Hey, I'm Stuart, founder of DMARC Defender, and in today's video, we're going to be setting up email authentication with Mailchimp. So specifically, we're going to be installing DMARC, SPF, and DKIM. First, I'd recommend using the domain check tool to see what protocols you already have installed. So you can go here, I'll put the link in the description, you click check domain, and it'll let you know what your DMARC policy is, if you have an SPF records, and if you have some DKIM selectors, and it will find the DKIM keys. So scrolling through, we can see this domain that we're going to be setting it up already has a DMARC record. This is very important. This is very important to know because you do not want to install two DMARC records. Two DMARC records will break things. We can see we already have an SPF record. For Mailchimp, technically we aren't going to be touching SPF records. We'll be talking about that a little bit later, but still useful to know. Again, you do not want to have two SPF records when you're installing all your different services. And then when we go down to DKIM, we can see it did not find any Mailchimp DKIM keys. So it looks like the DKIM keys for Mailchimp are not currently installed. But we'll show what they look like once we install them. But you'd see the little Mailchimp icon if they were there. So now we're going to add that domain. So we're going to click on our name within the Mailchimp dashboard. We're going to go to domains. And here we can add and verify domains. I think it grabs the domain by default based off of your email address, but if you want to use a different domain, you just do add and verify. It'll send you an email and you just need to confirm that you own that email. So here we can do start authentication. So they use something called Entry. Entry is a third party. It's not related to Mailchimp. And what they'll do is they'll automatically add the DNS records for you. I personally don't recommend them. So it's 100% up to you. It's just your DNS is usually pretty sensitive and you normally don't want to give third-party access to your DNS records if you don't have to. For example, using Vercel, if I was to grant Entry access to my Vercel, they would have access to all my project environment variables. So this is like my database credentials, all my sensitive customer access to my sensitive customer records would be in these environment variables. They can manage my deployment, so potentially take my services offline. You need to make your own risk decision. I would highly recommend not doing it, and you can just go with manual setup. So you can go with, let's leave this, start authentication. You can either take the entries from the entry dashboard that we saw a second ago, or you can just get them directly from Mailchimp. So I'm just going to grab the entries directly from Mailchimp, and we can just copy and paste them directly. Again, you have to make your own risk decision, but I'd highly recommend just doing it yourself. Getting started, we can see that to correctly set up DKIM, we're going to have to copy these two DKIM records. So we can see this is the domain key K2 and the domain key K3, and they need to have the CNAME values to this and this. So we're just going to set that in our DNS panel. So like I said, I'm using Vercel for this, but you could be using Namecheap or GoDaddy or AWS, Route 53, a whole bunch of different things. But they all pretty much look the same. Basically, you're just going to copy and paste the records. So this is K2 domain key. We're going to copy this here, put this here. It's important to make sure that you don't copy the actual domain portion. So really, you only want to copy this. Otherwise, your domain would be DMARCdefender.io and then DMARCdefender.io. This is what it would look like if you didn't delete this, so you definitely want to make sure you delete it. Otherwise, yeah, the domain name will just be copied twice. So we'll do the first domain key. It said it was a CNAME, so we can go back. It was CNAME, this value. We'll copy that and we'll put it here. And that's pretty much it. We're just going to click add. It says it was added successfully. Now we're going to go to the second one, K3. Copy this. We can just do it though. Domain key. Then we'll copy the value. CNAME. We'll hit add. It's going to think for a second. Cool. So the reason we checked earlier to see if we already had DMARC installed is because we do not want to install another DMARC record. I see a lot of people that have multiple DMARC records, and again, that will break your DMARC setup. You can only have one DMARC record. So again, check to make sure you don't already have one. If you don't, you can copy this record. I'm going to talk about some better DMARC records you could use that are a little bit more secure in a second, but you could start out with this one. This is just an empty policy that does nothing, but at least you can say you have DMARC, and this will technically fulfill the sender requirements for Google and Yahoo. Once we've copied these records, we can hit next. We can click check status. And we're all set. So they were able to successfully grab those domain keys, and I guess they also probably checked to make sure I had DMARC, and now our emails will be authenticated. But there's a couple of things we need to talk about. First off, so this was the instructions we just covered. The first off is it used to be that you would have to update your SPF policy. That's no longer the case. So it used to be you would have to add something like include servers.mcsv.net, and this would authorize Mailchimp to send emails on your behalf from certain IP addresses that they would include in this include statement. Mailchimp uses its own return path, so we're getting a little bit technical, but basically it means that there's multiple from addresses within an email, and they're on the return path from address. They use their own, and so SPF is going to validate against the Mailchimp SPF records, so you don't have to change yours. It does mean that if you set up DMARC reporting, that alignment will fail, but since we have DKIM installed and DKIM should work, everything should work out correctly. Next was the DMARC record. So they recommended using a record of v equals DMARC 1, p equals none. So this is a starter policy that you can use. When you use this, you are saying that do nothing even if you see unauthenticated emails. So the whole point of DMARC was to secure your email and hopefully prevent spoofers and impersonators from impersonating your domain. And so if you have p equals none, people can still impersonate your domain. So you would like to set it to either reject or quarantine, but the problem is that if you have email that is not set up correctly, like valid email that isn't properly authenticated, those valid emails will also be either sent to spam or they'll be rejected. So you don't want that. So DMARC has a very nifty feature called reporting. And so to enable reporting, you do RUA equals mailto, and you can put your name at yourdomain.com. And so what will happen, and this doesn't have to be your name, but it could be a group address or some other mailbox that maybe multiple people have access to, or like IT ad or something like that. And every 24 hours, email receivers, so like Google and Yahoo, they aggregate all the reports that they've received for a domain, and they'll send an email to this email here with a bunch of statistics in an XML file, but they'll send a bunch of statistics about which emails are passing and which emails are failing. This is just like amazing diagnostics data for understanding like the current state of your email authentication, which emails are passing, which emails are failing, which emails are being bounced, etc. Super useful data. Even if you don't plan on using the data now, I'd recommend just setting this the RUA tag up now so that you can like diagnose future issues and you have the data when you're ready to act on it. There's also third-party tools such as DMARC Defender. What we do is instead of putting your email address, you can put our email address, and what we're going to do is we're going to aggregate all that data. We'll calculate the statistics, and we'll figure out what issues are currently live in your production accounts, and we'll send you a notification whenever we detect something is broken, and so that way you can be sure that your emails are properly being delivered. Cool. So if you want to set up a DMARC record, basically just copy the records that we saw like on the previous screen. This time it's going to be a text record, not a CNAME. It's going to be _DMARC and then your domain, and then the value depending on which one you choose to go with. And that's pretty much it. So we can go back and check to see if the domain tool found our new records. So we're going to just refresh the page. We didn't change the DMARC record, so that'd be the same. We didn't change the SPF record, so that should be the same. But if we scroll down to DKIM, we can see that the two DKIM keys are now there. We have K2 and K3 for the Mailchimp records, so we should be all set. A common mistakes I see a lot of people having multiple DMARC records. Again, that'll break stuff. I'd highly recommend, using this tool. We'll check to make sure you don't have multiple DMARC records. Another common issue is I've seen like people will use equals instead of the colons in different policies. I see sometimes people will put spaces in front of their records, like when they copy and paste things, they'll add a little space to the beginning. Again, the tool will catch all that stuff, but just little things to look for because those will invalidate your policy. And again, you don't have to use DMARC Defender or any vendor, but even I would highly recommend just setting up DMARC reporting to start collecting those reports. And later in the future, when you're ready to tackle it, you can figure out which of your emails are failing and not being delivered to customers and stuff like that. Well, thanks for watching. I hope this was useful, and cheers.